This is Mantra.
머릿속에서 떠나질 않아.
She is the newest 6-star primal caster operator in the game, and in my opinion, she is rather disappointing. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Mantra is a primal caster. Primal casters have the ability to deal elemental damage, usually to enemies affected by elemental burst. Most primal casters struggle to proc elemental burst effectively, and often require another operator who can proc it quickly and consistently, such as Ritualist. For Mantra, she has the Nervous Impairment elemental. When proc, Nervous Impairment deals high elemental damage and inflicts paralysis. Paralysis is a status effect that can stack up to 3 times and prevents enemies from performing normal attacks. The stacks decrease when the attempts to attack or if the enemy has status resistance. This burst effect is very effective for stalling enemies with slow attack speed but high damage, like Patriot and other similar enemies. Mantra's first talent causes enemies that trigger paralysis effect to take elemental damage, and there is a small chance that a paralysis stack will not be consumed. This talent is useful for increasing the damage from nervous impairment. However, this talent becomes kinda useless when using Mantra's best skill. Her second talent grants 1 stack of paralysis to the enemy that spawns closest to Mantra from the red box. This is useful for activating her first talent without needing to proc elemental or as additional nuke damage for skill 3. Mantra's skill 1 has offensive recovery. When fully charged, her next attack deals additional arts damage and nervous damage. It deals additional elemental damage if the enemy is under the burst effect of nervous impairment. This is a decent skill, but there is no reason to use it once you have unlocked skills 2 and 3. Mantra's skill 2 has auto recovery. When used, it will reduces her attack interval, deals additional arts damage, and allows her attacks to jump up to 3 times, with reduced damage on the jump attack. Both normal and jump attacks deal nervous damage, deals additional elemental damage if the enemy is under nervous burst. This is a good skill for clearing enemies or elites with low to medium res. However, it struggles against high-res enemies since the elemental damage scales with the arts damage dealt. The SP cost and duration are quite good for this type of skill. Mantra's best skill, Skill 3, has auto recovery SP. When used, it expands her attack range and reveals invisible enemies within it, while reducing the maximum paralysis stack to 2. Mantra gains an additional attack buff and can hit 2 enemies simultaneously. Whenever an operator within her range activates a skill, all enemies within range immediately gain 2 stacks of paralysis. For every paralysis stack that exceeds the limit, Mantra deals big elemental damage that can jump to other enemies. This is her strongest nuke skill and the main reason why she does not really require a Ritualist. Just look at the damage this skill deals.
Resistance is futile.
Listen.
So much at least make me lose the code.
Okay.
You only need operators to activate their skills within her range to trigger the nuke effect. This includes auto skills, stacking skills, mode switches, basically any skill activation. The damage it deals is extremely high, especially against grouped enemies or bosses. Mantra's module upgrades both her trait and her first talent, increasing her damage and slightly improving the chance of not consuming paralysis stacks. It is a solid upgrade, but if you mainly use Mantra for skill 3, you probably only need the stage 1 module for the trait upgrade, since her first talent is somewhat useless if you use her skill 3 or don't have a Ritualist operator to easily proc nervous. Now, before I continue, I just want to say that Mantra is not a bad operator. In fact, I think she is one of the best elemental damage nukers in the game. I'm just a little disappointed with her kit. Many people say that Mantra has a good kit and doesn't really need to be paired with a Ritualist aka Tragodia. That made me expect that all of his talents and skills would be useful, and that none of them would feel mid or somewhat useless. However, After her release, she didn't quite meet my expectations. The only strong skill and not too dependent on a ritualist is skill 3. Both skill 1 and skill 2 are rather mid and require a ritualist to reach their maximum potential. Her first talent also relies on a ritualist and becomes somewhat useless when using skill 3. Again, I'm not saying that Mantra is bad, I'm just disappointed that she didn't really meet my expectations. That said, I still highly recommend getting her if you have a nervous ritualist aka Trigodia, and need an elemental nuker for bosses or large enemy groups. I wouldn't really recommend her for beginners, especially since there will be a limited banner coming soon. So, I suggest beginners to skip this banner. So yeah, that's all I can say. Hope you have a good day.
Yeah.